Hello and welcome to Will Watches. This is Chainsaw Man episode 2. I'm very excited for this. I'm hoping we get introduced to a ton more characters because the first episode, is kind of your introductory episode. You got to introduce the world, introduce the main cast. But now I'm hoping we get to learn a few more characters because it does seem that is what the fans really enjoy, is all the character interactions. And from the opening, it does seem like there are some great dynamics there. I'm assuming all of the characters are kind of working for this public safety commission that he was headhunted for, and now he's going to have a job there helping them hunt down different devils, and it's just kind of them working for the government hunting down devils, that kind of deal. There are still some questions that I'd like to have answered, like what the kind of motive behind this public safety commission actually is. Is it actually just the safety of the public, or is there something deeper behind it? What actually was the debt that Denji was paying off? Like, what got his father in so much debt? One of my theories is the payment for his mother's medical care. That makes a lot of sense actually, but it could be something a bit more sinister that is yet to be revealed, like his father has a dark past with his connection to the Yakuza. So before we get into this, be sure to check out the Patreon. Over there you can find a full-length timer-based version of this. You can also find polls so you can vote for what's next, and you can find 1 week early access. Of course there's no early access for this show because it's currently airing and I want to get these out as soon as possible, but there's early access for my movie reactions and any other future shows that I do. So yeah, let's just jump right in.
君、名前は?
Denji っす。
Kimi Namawa. That phrase is associated with your name.
使えないうちの犬は安楽死させられるんだって。
Yeah, she's just kind of using him as a tool a bit, as a dog to like work with.
いい人だと思ったのに、ちょっと好きになったのに、こんな怖い女だったなんて。人を犬扱いしやがってよ。
He's the canine unit.
ポチタ死んだの思い出しちまった。
I also noticed the position of the ripcord is like Pachita's near his heart.
汚ねえくせえと言われ、近寄られもしなかったこの俺が。
Someone's finally being nice to him, yeah. I was worried, like, is he just gonna fall in love with the first girl that's nice to him? That's like exactly what's happening. He hasn't had anyone being nice to him before, so this is the first thing that happens. Also, I can't believe, I'm so disappointed that I missed the film references. Like, this shot stood out to me, and I was like, why does that stand out to me? And this shot was so weird, them like turning on the table, like, how did I not recognize the film references? Especially the Tarantino ones. I think I was so focused on the CGI for the Reservoir Dogs one that I didn't notice, and it came in from a different angle, If it was just that sliding shot across, maybe I'd get it. And maybe I would have got it if I did like a frame by frame, but I didn't want to do a frame by frame just in case I saw something that spoiled something, because sometimes there are spoilers if you can put things together sometimes from openings. I love this scene, them dancing. It seems like they've got some great chemistry. That seems like the main trio there.
はいよ。あ、カレーうどんもいいっす。
Oh, right into her boobs as well.
飼ってた悪魔が俺の心臓になったんす。信じられないっしょ。俺も信じたくないっす。
I was wondering how much more of Pachita we'd see as well. Like if we'll get him in some dream sequences. We saw him talking in his head. Will we get his voice in his head maybe?
うどん食っていいっすか？
うん。大丈夫？一人で食べれる？
食べれる。
Is she offering to feed him as well?
おいしい？
His mummy issues coming in full force.
好きな男のタイプとかあります？
デンジ君みたいな人。
Oh. I was expecting her to say something and he'll mold his whole personality to fit that,
好きな男のタイプとかあります？
デンジ君みたいな人。
Oh yeah, he's just replaying the moment in his head, of course.
うちは基本制服だからこれ着てね。着替えたら君の同僚に合わせるから。
Oh yeah, of course, doesn't know how to do a tie.
お前とマキマさんとでは格が違う。見回り行くぞ。
やだ、マキマさん。
I wonder if that painting has any symbolism there. That's a famous painting. I know in the OP there was some references to classical art as well.
君の働きぶりが良ければ一緒に仕事できるよ。
That's the motivation he needs.
マキマさんって男いんの？なあよ。
Yeah, of course, he's just kind of the cold, silent type. Oh! Is he into Makima as well?
お前仕事やめろ。明日も来たらまたボコるからな。
Okay. Maybe he's just protecting him? Yeah, yeah, doing it for his own good.
給料だけ見てデビルハンターになったやつは全員悪魔に殺されたよ。
Yeah, that makes sense.
根っこに信念があるやつだけだ。お前さ、マキマさん目当てでデビルハンターになったろ。
ピンポーン。
I mean, he has more motivation than that, though, doesn't he? I kind of like how pure his motivation is. It's just live a nice life, get a girlfriend. I'm guessing Aki doesn't know about his power yet.
先輩は優しい人なんだな、おい。俺は男と喧嘩する。
He fights dirty.
俺は今日初めてうどん食ったぜ。フランクフルトもな、初めて人並みの扱いされたし。
Yeah, he can't give that up.
俺は軽い気持ちでデビルハンターなったけどよ。この生活続けるためだったら。
I mean, he has been a devil hunter for years now anyway, hasn't he?
てめえもマキマさんが好きなだけじゃねえか。
He's a man of his word. He did say he'd go for them.
やべえ。
That's funny. You never see this the junior get one over on the senior like that, you know.
仲良くできそう？
全然。
こいつクズですよ。
仲良くできそうでよかった。
Yeah, they're gonna be best friends soon.
デンジ君は人間だけど悪魔になることができるんだ。
どうだ、すげえだろ。
マジの話ですか？そういうの噂半分でしか聞いた。
Oh, there have been rumors of it though before.
公安を辞職したり違反行動があった場合、デンジ君は
Yeah, yeah, of course. They're keeping him under check.
お前を見張るため一緒に住むことになった。
Oh, really? Roommates as well?
ああ、マキマさんって悪い人なの？
そう思うならマキマさんは諦めろ。
Yeah, he's just ignoring the red flags, isn't he?
じゃあいい人なのか？
いい人に決まってる。俺の命の恩人だ。
But what was the motivation behind her saving his life as well?
もう一回抱きてえな。
He's just mad that they've hugged before.
ジャム、オレンジジャムにバターと蜂蜜、あとシナモンもかけちゃおう。
Oh, yeah, yeah.
今日のパンができちまったぜ。
It's like when you first move in with yourself. He reminds me of like my little brother a bit. My little brother always makes like food concoctions.
あとはデビルハンターに任せる。
早川さん、隣の人新人？
Okay, so yeah, devils, they do seem to be like public knowledge as well, even the police know. It's like an insect or something. And I was wondering if these are like specialized weapons, like cursed objects in JJK.
俺もこいつみてえな魔人になってたかもしれねえからな。それでなんか楽に殺してやりたくて。
Yeah, he has a bit of sympathy for them.
俺の家族は全員目の前で悪魔に殺された。悪魔と仲良しにでもなりたいのか？
友達になれる悪魔がいたらなりてえよ。
Yeah, he's kind of like halfway between the two worlds, isn't he? It's quite a common anime trope.
よし、エッチ確認。
私に見せてくれ。
俺もマジでやってるぜ。契約通り夢みてえないい生活してるもんな。俺はもう夢にゴールしちまってるからな。あいつはまだ追いかけてんだ。
Yeah, that's true. What's like his motivation?
もう100点の生活なのになんか足りない気がする。あいつはきっと復讐的なあれだ。あいつらは家族を守ること。
Yeah, he seems like the trope that his whole clan's been murdered or something like that, doesn't it?
マキマさんも。
I guess there it is. I've seen the manga panel. It's been shared so many times, that meme. I thought it was I want to touch some boobs, not I want to touch her boobs. It's hers specifically. Yeah, that is still one thing that he's missing. He's hanging around her, but he doesn't have a girlfriend yet.
ちょうどよかった。来たみたい。気をつけてね。彼女は魔人だから。
Oh, she is a fiend.
おうおう、ひげ伏せ人間、わしの名はパワー。
So what devil is she a fiend of?
結果が出せなかったら、すぐにでも上の方々が解体しちゃうかもしれない。
Okay, yeah, they gotta keep the team running.
なんか殺させろ。彼が君たちを組ませたから。
やろう。
Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
マジで俺を活躍させないようにして、俺を辞めさせる気なんだ。
血の匂いじゃ。
I'm noticing the different eyes. Makima's, they're like spirals, and hers, it looks almost like a crosshair. The sea cucumber devil. Are there that many people scared of sea cucumbers? Oh, she's got like blood control. Yeah, just straight in there, isn't she? Oh, there's actual visuals for the ED this time. Is this the one by Eve? I saw the list of who's doing it and Eve was second. Is this them? I love this, the hand-drawn style, the kind of sketchy style. This scene specifically reminds me of like a lo-fi aesthetic kind of thing that you find on a lo-fi album. Yeah, I love the like pencil mark line art. It reminds me a lot of the aesthetic of like a lot of Instagram art. Okay, so that was Chainsaw Man episode 2. That was exactly what I wanted. Some more characters, more introductions to things, exploring the world a little bit more. So this episode we're introduced to Aki and Power, and we actually learned Makima's name as well. And we're seeing a little bit of Makima's motivation. She seems like she is manipulating Denji. You know, she's kind of treating him like a dog, in her own words. She is just kind of using him for his power, for this kind of experimental team that they have at the Public Safety Commission. And there were a few things I did notice with Makima as well. So first off is her eyes. Now, because she is kind of manipulating Denji, her eyes, they almost look like hypnotic. They're like spirals. We had that big focus on her eyes at the start of the episode. They're not exactly spirals, but they're like circular, but they do remind me of like something like hypnotic, trying to control something else, you know. And there is the scene in the OP, because there's been loads of people completely like breaking down the OP scene by scene. There's that scene in the OP and she is feeding him this snail, and it is like a parasitic snail. So that's kind of what she's going for there. She is controlling and manipulating him for her own means. I don't know if she has some kind of grander goal, working her way up the Public Safety Commission for some reason. Like there must be something underlying, some underlying goal for her to do all of this. It's not just manipulation for the sake of manipulation. There is something else there as well. So I am interested in that. And also she's got a good sense of smell, and smell, you know, having a good sense of smell, that's a sign of like a predator. Like animals that are good smells, they're good predators, you know, so you can kind of see the connection there as well. And then on the subject of eyes, there's Power's eyes, who her eyes kind of look like crosshairs, and we see she was really quick to jump the gun to go in and attack that sea cucumber guy. And she is a fiend, which is this new concept we're introduced to this episode, which are kind of like half controlled humans. They're like humans, but the head is controlled by some devil, and that must explain what we saw in the OP as well, because I was thinking, well, there are other like hybrids like Denji, because we saw the kind of shark guy and the angel man in the OP, so I'm guessing they're fiends as well. So Denji is unique, being this like half breed, but there are fiends who are just the embodiment of the devils, whereas Denji has kept his personality from being a human, and the fiends are just like the devil's personality entirely, I'm guessing. So what actually is Power's devil? Is it just power, like the concept of power. That seems like that would be a very strong devil in that case. And we saw she had this cool kind of like blood bending power. She summoned this huge hammer, and we do see the hammer in the OP as well. She's like using that to hit that big gold ball, which I think is a Fight Club reference. But then kind of on the subject of the fiends and Denji being this kind of half-breed, it's quite a common trope that we see in anime, the kind of half and half. You got it in like Tokyo Ghoul, and it's kind of similar as well to the kind of devil inside you that you get in like Naruto and with Jujutsu Kaisen. So like the setup for the story here, you know, there's some tropes that we just see a lot in other anime, and I am hoping we explore this kind of sympathy that Denji has for the fiends, because he sees himself a bit in them, which makes complete sense. It makes complete sense, him having this sympathy, him being between these two worlds, and I do hope it gets explored more. And we are seeing through fiends, through power, that there are devils that still have some like humanity to them. That was something I was speculating on at the end of episode 1, which, you know, would there be demons who can blend in with humanity, who you might feel sorry for, who have actual motives, you know? They're not just these mindless beings. And then there was one thing I was speculating with Denji as well. We see in the first episode he has maybe the same chronic illness that his mum has, where he had like thrown up the blood. But then we also see he regenerates, you know, his eye comes back. I'm assuming his other ball came back. All of the stuff that he sold came back. You know, if he was discouraged and Aki got him to run off, he could have just had an infinite money glitch selling his organs, you know? They all regenerate now. And then speaking of Aki, we didn't really get much of his motivation here. You know, even Denji said, oh, he's probably got some tragic backstory, and it is that kind of stereotype of like the third character that's a bit more edgy. You kind of Sasuke and that kind of trope, your whole clan's being murdered, that kind of thing. And then Denji, you know, I looked it up, he's only 16 in this, and he does act just like a 16-year-old. We see him like playing around with his food when he finally gets this opportunity to make his toast with his jam, and he's putting honey, he's putting marmalade, he's putting cinnamon, he's just mixing all of these things. And that's such like a teenager thing to do, just like, especially if you were like a picky eater growing up. Like I said, it reminds me of my little brother, because he's always making these like food concoctions because he's quite a picky eater. So he just mixes all the food that he likes together and has that, you know? And now that he has the freedom, he can like really explore that. But then he's also acting like a 16-year-old in his motivations. He's just after some boobs. You can kind of see when he meets power, he's like, oh, how can I get to touch them? That's his first thought. You know, he's not thinking like, oh, how can I get a girlfriend so I can touch them? Is how do I touch them? You know, it's all about himself. It's quite self-centered, really. It's not about making them happy as well. It's just for his own satisfaction. That's something you got to learn when you grow up. But I think his kind of simplistic motivations, they're quite endearing actually. And you know, his motivation really is living a good life, and he thinks he's found that at this point, because now he's like got a job and it's well paying, and he's like hanging around cute girls, but it's not like a normal life still yet, really. He doesn't have like his own apartment or any kind of life skills. You know, he probably can't cook very well. There's a lot of things he still has to learn. So even though he's much closer to a normal life and he thinks he's achieved a normal life, there's still a long way to go, I think. And you know, just like a teenage boy, he just falls in love with the first girl who gives him any amount of attention. And that was exactly what I was worried about. And yeah, it's exactly the case. He gets the tiniest bit of attention from Makima, and he is just all over her. He's obsessed with her. He's like daydreaming about her as well. I mean, I think every boy's the same when they get their first crush, especially when you think they're interested in you back. But I'm not sure she is actually interested. She's just saying that, isn't she, to manipulate him and get him on this team for whatever her like motive actually is. One thing I can't wait to get to is some villains, because at the moment we've only really been introduced to some protagonists. So I'm hoping we get introduced to like a devil, like a more advanced devil at some point, or like a recurring villain. And you know, you can have villains that aren't necessarily devils. There could be human villains that have some ulterior motives, you know, probably some devils that want to just take over the world. You know, power, that seems like a kind of devil that would want to take over the world, doesn't it? A devil that just wants power. I wonder if there are like manifestations of the 7 deadly sins as well. That just came to my head as well, because I was thinking of greed alongside power, you know. And one thing I was also wondering was how the safety commission actually kill the devils. Is it just regular weaponry? We saw Denji, he has this axe, and we saw Aki, he's got this katana, but he never actually used it. I'm wondering if they are just regular weapons that actually work, or are they imbued with some kind of spiritual power in a way, like cursed objects in Jujutsu Kaisen? You know, are there any like extra powers? Is Aki just going around with his katana, or can he like unsheathe it and he's got some like extra power? It's got like lightning powers or something along those lines, you know, something a bit more like mystical that would add a bit of a flash to the animation and is just like a bit more interesting than just a plain sword. And then also on the subject of villains, I do have this underlying feeling that the Public Safety Commission have some sort of ulterior motive. Like there's something going on, they're doing experiments to create fiends in some way to like work with them, because we're seeing power here, and from the OP I've seen there's this like shark fiend and this angel fiend. Are they creating fiends, like capture a devil, create a fiend from it, then you can control it, something along those lines? That would be a cool concept. There's a few cool routes you could go with this, and I'm excited to see what route it actually takes, you know. So thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, consider leaving a like or a comment, and if you really loved it, be sure to subscribe so you can keep up to date for all of the future episodes. So yeah, thanks for watching, bye.